Greetings and salutations, and I hope you are excited and ready for some chemistry now. Today we are going to talk about another potentially renewable resource, water, and this is going to be covered in the lesson Seasoned Rivers and this one period of class. We're going to talk about the water on the earth and give some facts about the presence of water, talk about uses of water, pollution of the water supply, and the water and sewage treatment. Now we all know that 70% of the Earth's surface is water covered, and oceans hold 97.41% of Earth's water. I found from another source this amount, but 97.41% is what your textbook gives, and let's stay with that. And except the oceans, water also exists in lakes and rivers, in ice caps and glaciers. In the air exists as water vapor, in the ground as moisture. It is in aquifers, underground, deep, and it is in the living things. It is in us. 70% of our body is water. So you have a better understanding of the amount of water. I'm giving here a picture that compares the volumes, volume of the earth, and the big sphere is the volume of all the water. This smaller one is the volume of fresh water in groundwater, lakes, swamps, rivers. And the small dot here is fresh water in lakes and rivers. But still we have plenty of water for us to use. Around 3% of total is available for us and is sufficient if the water was distributed evenly. But when we talked about the water cycle, we thought the water is always in moving from one form to another, and it moves from one place to another. So the water doesn't distribute the same everywhere. It's good that the water never sits still and moves around, because during the process, during the water cycling, this cycle, the waters purify. If it would have been in one place, it would get stale. And another fact to give us a better picture of amount of water we use out of the amount of water available. Let's say like we have 100 liters of water available in the earth, only 1 teaspoon is easily available for us humans. And that would be enough if for everybody, but is not spread evenly. Water is essential to life, and we use it in homes, you all know, use it in toilets, personal washing, laundry, dishwashing, gardening, cooking, drinking, and I'm sure there is some other stuff there. And is used in industry for cooling, to cool down reactions, to transfer heat from one factory to another, and is used as solvent. And as it gets used, the water gets polluted and becomes sewage, and would contain soap, detergent, grease, food, body waste, chemical waste, factory waste, would contain big particles, would contain bacteria which carries disease, and chemicals and different salts. And is not just our everyday use that pollutes the water. There is areas and water that goes in the sewage is treated, in no way this controls the pollution. But the problem is for the areas without sewers, and everything is just released into rivers without being treated. And industry sometimes discharges toxic and harmful substances and warm water into rivers. Now there is laws that try to control that, and they are responsible and required by the law to treat the water before they dump it in the rivers. But we all know the stories of when this thing has happened, because it's cheaper for them, and there has been factories that just release the untreated water in the rivers. And we also deal with the warm water. Warm water dissolves less oxygen, so when factories release the warm water in the lake or in the river, they would raise the temperature of the water, and the water is going to have less oxygen, and this is going to hurt the life in it, like plants and animals. And another big problem are fertilizers. Nitrates. Nitrates can be washed into streams and rivers, and they are really bad because they cannot be removed from water and can cause problems for children and elderly. And another problem with fertilizers when they're washed is because they change the ecosystem in the lakes. When they go in the water, nitrates are like there's nutrition, so we have an overgrowth of the plants and algae, and they cover the lake. But when they die, they are decomposed by anaerobic bacteria, and the oxygen levels in the water drop, and plants and animals die. And there's been cases when like the lakes were filled with dead fish because of this. So water can contain solid particles, bacteria, dissolved salts, chemicals, and the water treatment is a necessity because we reuse the water. And the water treatment is designed to remove at least solid particles and bacteria. The simplest one at least do these two things. And solid particles are removed through filtering, and sand is used, and the water particles are smaller than the sand particles, so they go through the sand and go on the other side, and the bigger particles are stopped by the sand. And bacteria is removed through chlorification. Water is treated with chlorine, and chlorine kills bacteria. And there are some more complex water treatment that use ozone to remove pesticides and some other dissolved substances. Another treatment that is done to water is desalination. Now, in some places, like in the Arabic Peninsula, there is not enough water, so they take water, they use stock of water from the sea, but before they can use it, they have to remove the salt. And this is done through distilling and through reverse osmosis. In the reverse osmosis, they push with high pressure the water through some special membranes that stop the salt and let the fresh water go on the other side and be available for people to use. Now this is a picture of water treatment, and let's follow it. This is abstraction is the first step. I take water from the rivers and put in our reservoirs. See why is important to control the sewage and control the industry waste or fertilizers, because we use the water from the rivers to drink. So this water is put on the reservoirs, and the first step is clarification, make the water clearer. And after that, in the clarification tanks, the sludge is gathered down here, and the water goes in the to be filtered. And as I said, the small particles of water are able to go through particles of sand because they are smaller than sand and go in the other side, and the bigger particles are deposited here. Sand stops them. And in this tank is disinfection. Chlorine, water is treated with chlorine, and chlorine kills bacteria. Remember that. Chlorine kills bacteria. If you are asked in exams about this process, this is the acceptable answer. Chlorine kills bacteria, not just, oh, is disinfected with chlorine. This is unaccepted. And after is treated with chlorine, is gathered in reservoirs and is ready to use in the home. And this sludge and gets treated further, and it is disposed. Now let's go through the sewage treatment. As I said, sewage is treated before it's dumped in the rivers, because from rivers we take the water to use. So first goes through some coarse screens, and the big particles are separated here from the other stuff, and they're disposed. And the water with all the sludge and stuff it has gets in those primary sedimentation tanks and is led to sediment, and all the raw sludge is gathered in these big tanks down here, and the water is passed in aeration tanks where the aerobic bacteria does the breaking down of organic waste. And after that is sent in another tank for final sedimentation, and the sludge still is gathered here, and the water is sent out in the rivers and used for agriculture and landscape reuse, or treated further for drinking and home usage. Now, today, since we're talking about water, I wanted to mention an analysis for the water, and there are 3 analyses. We are going to do this as the year goes by, and we're going to do them in the lab, but I would like you to have an understanding today and know what we use for to analyze water. The first one, the freezing point, the melting point, is used to test the purity of water. We know that pure water melts at 0 degrees Celsius, and the boiling point of the pure water is 100 degrees Celsius. So this is a test for purity of water. If it is 0 and 100, we know that water is pure. If it is different, then has contamination. And these 2 other tests here are for the presence of water. Before I explain the test, I want to explain something else. There is 2 salts here, cobalt chloride and copper sulfate, copper 2 sulfate. These 2 salts exist in 2 forms. One, anhydrous form, when there is no water and is a powder, and the other one is a hydrous form and is a crystal. And so the form that has this water, which is called water of crystallization, the water turns this powder in a crystal, and that's where the taste for the water is based. So we have anhydrous cobalt chloride paper. Is like a litmus form, and this paper is blue because has an anhydrous cobalt chloride salt in it. And if we put a drop of water in that paper, it's going to turn in pink. So one test for the presence of water is anhydrous cobalt chloride paper in the presence of water changes from blue to pink. And the other test is with the copper 2 sulfate. Is a white powder that in the presence of water turns blue. So anhydrous copper 2 sulfate changes from white to blue hydrous copper 2 sulfate. These are the answers for those 2 questions. Now we have some questions now, and you know now, stop the video and try to answer these questions, discuss with each other, and if there is something that you are not clear, go back in the slides and look through them. For the next time, you can have a homework from quick check questions in page 16, and next time you're going to have a quiz 10 minutes about this lesson, seas and rivers. And what I wanted to focus for this quiz is the water treatment and sewage treatment and the uses of water and analytic tests of water. Have a good day. Goodbye.